His sister was twisted to stop him from marrying his fiancée. She broke her own leg. Later, he was murdered by his fiancée and his best friend plotting together. At his funeral, that pair schemed about how to spend his inheritance. But his sister, the one with the crippled leg, hunted them halfway across the globe like a madwoman. Now reborn, when his fiancée wrapped her arms around him telling him to slip this knockout drug into his sister's drink, he pushed away that woman with her sickening smile. What could his sister possibly do wrong? She just loved him too much. When the time comes, his fiancée said, just put this stuff in his sister's drink. His sister definitely would not suspect him. This stuff could knock out an elephant. Once his sister was asleep tonight, his fiancée would get him out of there. The person across from him gently squeezed his wrist, but his mind was not on her. His gaze was fixed behind her. The shadows of the large tree swayed. His sister in her white dress stood at their front door holding a kitchen knife, her eyes dark and menacing, watching them both. By the time he realized he was truly reborn, his sister had already dragged him inside the house. She held the kitchen knife in her left hand, her right hand fumbling around the doorframe. She probably could not find any rope, so she pulled off her own tie and tied his wrists. He was forbidden to see Lyra. Lyra was his fiancée, the woman who had just told him to drug his sister. He let his sister fuss over the knot on his wrist, his head bowed. She was so careful not to hurt him. He caught her fingers. She paused. In his last life, even touching her disgusted him. His action made her hesitate for a second or two. Then she clamped her hand over his mouth. Shut up, she said. If you dare plead for Lyra again, I will kill her. That was how it was last time. His sister and he slowly grew apart. He was head over heels for Lyra, not knowing she was already hooking up with his best friend Damien. The two plotted to kill him for the insurance money. He truly thought Lyra was his soulmate, completely devoted to her, but his sister tried desperately to stop him, telling him Lyra was bad news. In a fit of anger, he said horrible things to her. Alara, you are twisted, imprisoning your own brother. Do you know why the neighbors avoid you? Because you are a freak. I hate you too. Why did you have to be my sister? I do not want you as my sister anymore. He only remembered how pale her eyes looked that day. She looked like her mother, beautiful to the core, but always with this fragile about to shatter quality. She just calmly tied him up, then told him dinner was fish head stew with tofu, his favorite dish. When he came back to himself, he was tied to a chair. His sister was cooking in the kitchen. His sister really was an unstable, extreme control freak, but what was her fault in it? She just did not know how to love him. He zoned out for a moment. His sister came out of the kitchen, looking down at him. What is wrong, sis? He tilted his head up and smiled at her. Why are you not fighting? Her voice was a little soft and husky. Actually, his sister's voice was not always hoarse. It became that way from working jobs to raise him, straining her voice until it broke. You do not have to tie me up, sis, he told her gently. I will not run away again. I will stay by your side and heal the sickness in your heart. But his sister just looked down at him coldly. Playing hardball did not work, so now you are trying the soft approach. His sister thought he still wanted to run, but she did not know the thing she could handle least was him acting soft towards her. The woman, turning to leave, looked resolute. He cleared his throat and put a little whine in his voice. Sis, it hurts. 3 seconds later, he was sitting perfectly fine in the chair. His sister was squatting in front of him, frantic as if he had lost a limb. Where does it hurt, huh? Should we go to the hospital? Sis did not mean to. She wanted to touch him, but did not dare because he used to yell at her loudly not to touch him. So when he was angry like this, she did not dare go against his wishes. His fingertips brushed through her soft, dark hair. She froze, staring at him with a shocked expression he had not seen in ages. He looked down, gently tracing the corner of her eye. Sis, this life, it is my turn to protect you. Seriously, since he was reborn, Lyra and Damien, those two pieces of trash, neither of them got to live well. Why should they dirty his sister's hands after his death? Didn't I tell you yesterday to drug your sister near the corner store? Lyra, hands behind her back, frowned at him. In his last life, his obsession with Lyra was like she had put a spell on him, so she always treated him bossily and demanding. If you do not get your sister knocked out tonight, do not expect me to help you escape. In his last life, he listened to her and drugged his sister, but maybe Alara had a high tolerance. She woke up halfway, struggled to chase after him, stumbled, and fell down the stairs, breaking her leg. Even now he remembered that day, how red her eyes were. Lying on the floor, she still tried to keep him there. She yelled at him, "Do not go, come back. They are bad people." Her voice completely hoarse, she painfully told him, "Trust your sister." Sister would never lie to her brother, not even in death. But back then he only saw her as a control freak who wanted to lock him in her room forever. Lyra probably thought threatening him with not running away with him would make him anxious, but he did not even raise an eyebrow. He asked her, "This drug, it will not kill my sister, right?" And his good buddy Damien just then coincidentally showed up with a popsicle and sat beside him. "It is simple, Leo. Just watch the dosage, enough to make her sleep. Besides, she is scum. She deserves to die." Deserve to die? Would someone who deserved to die hunt down the two culprits to the ends of the earth after his death? Would someone who deserved to die drag a crippled leg just to avenge the brother who ignored her warnings and constantly guarded against her? Did he not know if his sister was a bad person? He looked up, wishing he could tear these two in front of him to shreds right now, but now was not the time. He stared at the packet of knockout drops in his hand. In his heart, a plan was already forming. "You went to see Lyra again?" Just as he entered the door, someone hugged him from behind. Her elegant nose nuzzled his neck, her breathing light. His sister smelled faintly of blossoms. Under the lamplight, Elara's face was pale, her features striking like ink splashed forcefully onto white paper, fragile as if it could smudge and break apart. "Sis, I was not," he began. "Shut up," she cut him off coldly. Her knuckles brushed his shoulder blade, the unfamiliar touch sending a shiver down his spine. But this time he did not pull away. He suddenly felt his sister was like a cat checking if the tattered doll it found still belonged to it. He smiled, his fingers brushing aside her messy bangs. Then he suddenly stopped. Hot. Extremely hot. His sister had a fever. Only then did he notice her face was paler than usual. Clearly uncomfortable like this, yet she stubbornly watched him. "Sis, why did you not go to the hospital?" His hands trembled slightly as he supported her. Her voice was cold and hoarse. "You promised you would be back by 6. I had to wait for you." The clock already showed 9 p.m. He realized he had forgotten the time they agreed on while dealing with his own matters. But his sister, like a fool, insisted on waiting for him, even with a raging fever. His sister lay on the sofa. She gave him that look of utter shock again, one he had not seen in ages, because he was going to make dinner for his sister. This was the first time in his life he had ever cooked for his sister. He was a good cook. In his past life, trying to please Lyra, he made all sorts of meals for her. But towards his sister, he was often dismissive. So many years later, he found out his sister had kept a half-eaten piece of bread he had left behind, hidden away for a long time. The shrimp and scallop congee was cooked just right. He blew on it gently, then offered a spoonful to his sister's red lips. His sister stared at him, her eyes holding the suspicion that he drugged it. "Are you going to eat it or not?" he asked calmly. She bit down on the spoon, lowered her eyelids, looking almost docile. He could not imagine how her slender forearm, veins clearly visible, had managed to decapitate Lyra and Damien back then. "Sis, have you thought about our future?" he asked softly while his sister ate her congee. "I am graduating soon. Your job is not stable. We could sell this house and move to the coast. Did you not always want to open a flower shop?" In the past, his plans for the future likely never included his sister. The phrase he said most often to her was telling her to get lost, even though she raised him and gave up everything for him. "Sis, do not you like flowers?" He leaned closer to her. "But you always smell faintly of blossoms." Before he could finish, she raised her hand, gripping his chin. Her delicate fingers brushed his lips. His sister's gaze towards him had always been clearly etched with the word possession. "What are you trying to say?" she said. "The coast? A flower shop? Convenient for you to run away. Stop lying to me. Okay, Leo?" She murmured his name, like talking in her sleep. "You know perfectly well, in a new place, the first thing you would do is abandon me." She spoke the truth. If it were his past life, he definitely would have done that. His sister was like an animal once bitten by a snake, forever afraid of, well, ropes. He wanted her to trust him again. She saw him as the venomous snake tempting her to eat the forbidden fruit. Too many times before, he deceived her until she had nothing left. In the empty room, they stared at each other silently. "You need to prove it." His sister stared at him. "How do I prove it?" he asked her. The light flickered, then suddenly went out. The room plunged into total darkness. Soon he knew how his sister wanted him to prove it. He was pulled into a soft embrace, her fingers caressing the small of his back, burning hot. He heard her muffled groan. Then she gripped his chin, her lips pressed against his. First, so hot. Everything about her was hot. Her fingers grazed the back of his neck, kissing him. The root of his tongue felt almost numb from her heat. His sister was defiling her own brother. Her lips traced down from his damp eyes, landing by his ear, using that unnatural heat to slowly arouse his senses. His sister probably never imagined that when she sealed his lips, he would grab her collar tightly and kiss her back. And so his sister's breathing grew ragged. She turned his chin straight, pressed her forehead against his, rubbing gently. He listened for her whispers in the dark. Only then did he realize who was truly suffering. Prove it like this. Do not leave your sister. He finished washing the last bowl in the kitchen. His sister was in the living room. In fact, he was just avoiding her. Things had moved too fast. His sister and he had done things they never did in his previous life. He knew his sister's feelings were not just familial. They were not blood-related anyway, but the look in her eyes was always intensely restrained, wanting him but daring not to act. He did not know how to face her, even though he had lived 2 lives. Just as he was pondering this, his sister pushed open the door and walked in casually. Have a sip. She hugged him from behind, pressing him against the sink, holding a cup of warm milk to his lips. He did have a habit of drinking milk before bed, but this seemed like the cup she had been drinking from. Following her lip print on the rim, he took a sip. Good boy. She ruffled his hair. Sis, he called her. You need to practice your kissing technique. What? She chuckled. He turned around. Then she stood on tiptoe and unexpectedly kissed the corner of his mouth. He brushed her bangs aside. Sis, now do you believe me? I will not run away. See, I have even opened myself up to you completely like this. But the woman, head tilted back, just kept looking at him like that. Everything to you. His head suddenly felt heavy. He looked up at her, his thoughts clouding. No, his head felt so dizzy. The milk. His sister cupped his face, her smooth fingertips brushed his eyelids. He could not move. There was something in the milk. He heard his sister's voice sounding very far away. This time you did very well, Leo, but you should not have kept the drug somewhere so easy to find in your bag. It just fell out. You almost managed to kill your sister. Damn. His sister misunderstood. He kept the drug in his bag to get it analyzed, to find evidence of Lyra and Damien's crimes. But his sister thought he was planning to drug her. Everything he had just done, she now saw as an elaborate act involving great self-sacrifice. He wanted to explain, but could not speak. His eyelids grew heavier and heavier. What kind of mess was this? He tried to reach out, but Alara brushed his hand away. Do you hate your sister that much? You tricked me once. Did you think you could trick me a second time? His head was groggy, felt like something was binding him, making it hard to move. His whole body was immobilized. His sister had tied him up. Sis, he looked at her, feeling helpless. You have to give me a chance to explain. Alara looked down at him, her expression blank. His sister was tall and looked thin like fragile glass, but she was strong, whether dealing with that pair in the last life or dealing with disobedient him in this one. Her almost chillingly pale knuckles caressed behind his ear. Sis, he called her. Shut up, another slightly harsh, hoarse reprimand. His sister leaned down and kissed him. Her eyelashes were long, brushing against his eyelids, tickling slightly. He could not move, but he felt even his sister's gentle teasing was becoming unbearable because he liked her. He was forced to respond to her, but when his senses filled with her scent, the last shred of reason pulled him back from the abyss, making him sober. He was not here just to practice kissing with his sister. Sis, he started coughing. She pulled back slightly, annoyed, gently rubbing his back. Choked. Who is the one who needs more kissing practice? She spoke sharply, clearly still angry. She thought he deceived her, but he had not. So he got angry too. You are the one who does not trust me. Lyra gave me the drug. She wanted me to knock you out. I only took it so I could send it to a lab for analysis. You are the one who does not trust me. He held his head high, meeting her gaze. When she leaned down to kiss him again, he knew his explanation went in one ear and out the other for this person. He struggled free from her. She raised an eyebrow. She hummed. Her words were soft, tickling his ear. The drug was for analysis, not to poison your sister, Leo. Are you going to say next that you did all this for me? But have you ever loved your sister? Me? Even a little? Her expression was calm, but her eyes looked frantic, almost broken. He opened his mouth wanting to say something, but could not. After all, previously to escape Alara, he had done things like putting sleeping pills in her breakfast, putting caustic powder in her things, falsely accusing her of stealing and calling the cops on her, and so on, countless shameless acts. You could say her bad reputation in the neighborhood was half his fault, purely from cleaning up his messes. It was understandable she could not change her view of him instantly. He could tolerate it for now. So he, with a sudden movement, kissed Alara. His sister's lips were nice to kiss, soft. She froze, her eyes looking like colors suddenly blooming. And then his sister went crazy. His head hit the mattress. The bed dipped under their movement. He responded to her, found her hand, interlaced their fingers, kissed her neck, said, "You are going to torture your sister to death." He thought last life he owed Alara so much. This life, he was not sure he could heal her, but he could definitely promise to stay with her, tormenting each other until death. His sister's cooking was delicious. If his hands were not tied and she was feeding him spoonful by spoonful, he thought it would taste even better. "Sis," he drew out the sound calling her. The silver spoon touched his lips, then paused. "Leo, the last time you whined at me like this, you almost sent your sister to jail," she stated a fact calmly. But under the table, his leg brushed against his sister's calf. She froze for a second. A faint blush crept up her cheeks. So innocent. If his sister had not just pinned him down on the bed and kissed him like a starving wolf, he might have believed it. "Sis, do you believe in fate?" "Actually, I had a dream last night, saw the future. In the dream, I married Lyra." "Sis, you broke your leg. Later, Lyra and Damien plotted together and killed me. You, dragging that useless leg, hunted them halfway across the globe. So I really hate Lyra now." He stared into her eyes, saying these words with utmost sincerity, but she remained expressionless, her beautiful eyes like a still mirror. He could not guess what she was thinking. "Oh really?" She leaned closer, her breath warming his neck. "What a coincidence. I also had a dream last night. In the dream, the little brother would do anything to escape his sister. He spun a beautiful lie, deceived his sister completely, made her drunk on false hope, and then abandoned her. He almost thought she was reborn too because in his last life, he had coaxed Alara right before drugging her. He still remembered that day, her eyes red, gripping his wrist, holding him tight, saying, "Leo, you will not leave me, right? You promise you will not leave me, right?" And that night, he drugged her and she broke her leg. If his sister dreamed that, it was no wonder this psycho wanted to keep him tied up. He gave her a small laugh. She frowned at him. "Then forget it. Sister, whatever you do to me, I am willing." He promised himself this was the last time he would deceive Alara. In the shower, he turned the water to the coldest setting. Drying his hair, he aimed the cold air straight at his head. He had always had a weak constitution since he was young. When the chill shot through him, his sinuses felt strange. He sniffled, knowing he was catching a cold. Whether he would get a fever was up to luck. He came out of the bathroom, toiling his hair. His sister was sitting on the sofa, her dark eyes fixed on him. He walked over and with a little oof, tackled her onto the sofa. Although his action was sudden, his sister still managed to wrap her arms around him. "Go to sleep," her voice was firm. His hand rested on her thigh. This was not like his sister. She caught his fingers. He stared at her slightly upturned lips. "Why are you ignoring me? Do not fidget. Go to sleep." When she spoke again, there was a warning edge to her voice. "Sis, I am being so nice to you. Do not you like it?" He pulled her onto his lap. Her pupils visibly trembled. A muffled sound escaped her. She was forcing herself to endure it again. "My sister. So maybe I will not be so nice next time. You are the one pushing me away, Alara. Look, you are pushing your brother." A gentle pressure on the back of his neck. His words were abruptly cut off by her kiss. She did not want her brother talking again. The fool. Sometimes he pitted his sister. He was the one physically restrained, but she was the one truly trapped. He caressed her neck. "Are you scared, sister?" She nodded silently against his chest. "You have been acting too strangely lately, Leo." Her voice was soft and husky. "I am so afraid it is a trap, but you know, even if you dug a pit right in front of me," smiled and said, "Sis, jump," sister would still jump without hesitation. In the middle of the night, he felt too sick to sleep, went to knock on his sister's door. "Sis, I think I have a fever. His vision blurred. He looked down at her. A rush of thoughts flooded his mind. He just felt his sister was really beautiful. At school, plenty of guys would probably like her, but unfortunately, because of him, his sister had. She grabbed his wrist firmly. To the hospital, without a moment's hesitation. Her coat was already draped over him. She felt his forehead with her hand. He could feel her tremble slightly. Probably really hot. His sister always panicked because of him. His sister was too perfect, so God gave her one weakness, him. His sister's life was shattered because of him. In the taxi, he leaned against his sister's shoulder. He really felt cold, so he clutched her coat tightly. He held her hand, playing with her delicate pale fingers, still feeling bad. We are almost there. She was worried if the fever had fried his brain. He really wanted to tell her he was fine, that he did it on purpose, but he could not bear to see her expression if she knew the truth. His sister hurriedly carried him into the emergency room, placed him on a chair in the foredrip area, straightened his collar, squatted in front of him, calling him her sweetie. I am going to pay the bill. I will be right back. Be good, okay? You will feel better after the 4. He buried half his face in her coat, watched her with his eyes showing, and nodded. She patted his head, leaned in, and kissed the corner of his mouth. He watched her retreating figure. She really wanted to get back to him quickly, but he dropped her coat onto the chair, turned around, and slipped out into the vast night outside the hospital. He really wanted to stay with his sister forever. Maybe someday his sister would understand he truly loved her, but time was running out. He could not let Lyra and Damien lose patience with him. He had finally managed to get some evidence of their crimes. It was 4 a.m., just before dawn. He called Lyra. She did not answer. Right at this hour, who would not be asleep? At the same time, he could not stop thinking how frantic his sister would be when she found him gone. When he was very young, his sister lost him in a department store. He cried amidst the crowd. She pushed through the endless stream of people to hold him, trembling with anxiety. Every time after that, his sister always found him. Until the last life, she broke her leg and her brother still left without looking back. The ringing phone interrupted his thoughts. It was Lyra. He answered. You escaped? There was a moment of silence on her end before she asked him. Yeah, my sister is tough to deal with. She confiscated the drug. Can you get me another dose? Do not worry. She has lowered her guard around me now. It will definitely work this time. To dispel Lyra's suspicion, he had to pretend to utterly despise his sister. And Lyra sounded strange today too, like she was using a voice changer. This was not good. It meant Lyra was starting to suspect him. Like dominoes falling. He was afraid his changes would completely alter the timeline. How can I trust you, Lyra? Are we really talking about trust between us? Sure enough, Lyra must have sensed something. He had no choice but to raise the stakes. He took a deep breath and said, Do you not know I like you? Silence on her end again for a long time. Then she asked him, What about your sister? I need to be sure you have not been turned by her. My sister? I cannot even be bothered to look at her. Just a dog clinging to me. If she died someday, I would set off fireworks to celebrate. Not true. That was not it. He was definitely saying the opposite. He closed his eyes, silently adding the correction in his head. She finally seemed reassured on the other end, gave him an address. 876, South Street. Be careful. Lyra and Damien were definitely involved in illegal activities. He even suspected before they met him, they had already conspired to scam insurance from others. So this time, he secretly turned on his phone's recording app. He glanced down at his phone screen. 45 missed calls, all from his sister. The meeting place was an abandoned warehouse. Lyra was always cautious, making even running away seem like some illicit operation. In his last life, he somehow did not sense anything wrong. Dawn was breaking, light filtering through the dusty windows. He still felt his head heavy and dull, thinking, Get some evidence quickly. Call the police. Get Lyra and Damien arrested. My sister Alara. His thoughts suddenly tangled fiercely, weaving through his mind. He could not stop thinking her name. It turns out even a moment's betrayal and separation could make him feel like suffocating. He did not want to lie to his sister anymore. He really regretted it. By reaching the end of the warehouse floor, he froze. The sun was just rising. Someone was tied to a chair, mumbling incoherently. It was Lyra, and behind her stood his sister, hands in her pockets, fiddling with a SIM card. In that instant, he suddenly realized his sister had tied up Lyra. She had learned to solve problems at the source. No wonder the voice changer. The person on the phone was not Lyra. It was Alara. What had he said to his sister on the phone? He had said, "My sister? I cannot even be bothered to look at her. Just a dog clinging to me. If she died someday, I would set off fireworks to celebrate." He was screwed. The rising sun drew a sharp dividing line between her and him. He stood there, stunned, his throat dry. "Sis." She tilted her head slightly. Her beautiful eyes reflected him, devoid of emotion. "Are you going to plead for her?" She nudged the person tied to the chair in front of her. Lyra was clearly terrified, looking at him, desperately pleading for help. Such a coward. "Sis, let me be clear. I am not taking her side, but we do not do illegal stuff." "So you are pleading for her?" She cut him off. This sister felt so unfamiliar. He had never thought his sister would look at him with those eyes. Calm, cold, silent. What could he say? Explanations? His sister would not believe them. It would only make things worse, eventually snapping the thread between them. He thought his sister would get angry, yell at him, tie him up and take him home to deal with him, but she did none of that. Her calmness terrified him, like sinking slowly into a lifeless swamp. After a long moment, he heard her sigh. "Leo, you know I like you. I am afraid of many things, and every single one involves you. Afraid you will get hurt. Afraid you will go bad. Afraid you will leave. These past few days I kept wondering, just how much do you hate me? Hate me enough to sacrifice yourself? Then I realized even if I held on to you forcefully, you would still leave. So Leo, I will not stop you anymore." His sister gave the woman a push. The sunlight did not catch his sister's retreating figure. He only caught her last words. "You and her live well together. Remember to go to the hospital. Sis will not take you." He stood there, stunned for a long while. He finally understood. His sister did not want him anymore. In the empty warehouse, Lyra was so moved, she was almost crying, sobbing. "Leo, I knew it. You do care about me. Your sister is a psycho. Call the police quickly. Get her arrested." He kicked the chair she was tied to, knocking it over. "Who does she think she is?" Lyra did not dare call the police because she herself was involved in illegal dealings. The woman wailed behind him, yelling for him to untie her. He ignored her. After a brief internal struggle lasting 2 or 3 seconds, he ran out of the warehouse. He decided to chase after his sister. Growing up, it was always his sister comforting him, so his sister could not abandon him. He did not know where she went, but decided to go home first to find her. Now it was his turn to call her phone and not get through. How the tables had turned. Sitting in the car, he typed out a long text message to her, then deleted it word by word. He suddenly felt like he had caught his sister's craziness. He was going mad too. When he could not see her, his mind was filled with her. He finally found his sister not at home, but at the convenience store near their house. He stood at the store entrance, took a couple of steps forward, but froze. Under the streetlight, the convenience store was mostly empty in the early morning. His sister wore a black coat, her features delicate and beautiful, her skin almost chillingly pale. She lowered her eyelids as she handed something to the cashier. The cashier was a young guy sneaking glances at her. His sister curved her eyes into a smile at him. He exploded right there at the entrance. Somewhere in his heart felt like it had been brutally squeezed. His sister came out of the store, looked at him with some surprise. A faint morning ray fell on her face. He stood directly in her path, so she tilted her head slightly. "Excuse me." The way his sister looked at him like he was a stranger, he could not hold it together anymore. "Sis," the end of the word cracked. He watched as his sister's pupils slowly widened. Then she pulled him into her arms. Her fingertips brushed his cheek. "What are you crying for? Stop crying. Sis was wrong. It is my fault. Stop crying, okay?" Everything she was holding fell to the ground, just so she could wipe his tears. He looked at her, choking back sobs. "I never had parents growing up, and now you do not want me either. Alara, how could you be so cruel?" She said, Okay. It is all my fault. You really know how to make me worry. Stop crying, all right." But he was crying until he could barely breathe, until he felt his nose getting stuffy. Then he suddenly remembered he was still sick with that cold, and the virus in his body seemed to launch an all-out attack. His head swam violently. Then he remembered he had been running around all night, had not even finished his half-and-half for bag. His consciousness started fading. He grabbed onto her sleeve. In the very last moment, he still heard his sister frantically calling his name. He felt something covering his eyes, a black cloth. He could not see anything, so his other senses were infinitely amplified. Someone brushed his bangs aside, touched his head. The fingers were slightly calloused. It was his sister. "Sis," he called out. She did not answer him. She reached out, undid the top button of his shirt, moving downwards. He shivered slightly. She gently rubbed his earlobe. "Good boy. Let's check your temperature." "Sis, why are my eyes covered?" Because he caught the sound of her breath near his ear, magnified 10,000 times compared to usual. "You need to be punished." His heart pounded. "I have a fever, sister." His wrists were patiently tied by her. He had to follow her voice, but she fell silent. He could only hear the rustle of sheets and fabric, and her taking his wrist, winding a silk ribbon around it again and again. It did not hurt, was not uncomfortable, but there was an ache, just like his sister was to him. "Sis, I was wrong." He had no choice but to beg her. She hummed softly. He could not figure out her mood. His vision was pure darkness. She took the thermometer from under his arm. She seemed to be reading the number. "Where were you wrong?" he heard her ask him. "I should not have lied to you. Should not have contacted Lyra. But, sis, contacting them I really wanted to get them." A touch of warmth on his forehead, most likely his sister checking his temperature with her own forehead. "Wrong, Leo. I am not angry because you lied to me. It is because you deliberately made yourself sick. Do you understand?" His sister used her knee to push his legs apart. "Because of me, you hurt yourself, so I wanted to kill myself," Alaris said. "Everyone's world is different, and in my world, there is only me. So, do not make your sister sad. Do not make your sister suffer, okay?" Her kiss landed on his neck, wet. "I am afraid one day I will go completely mad and will not be able to love you anymore." He felt her gentle bite, her voice gradually shifting into a pained reminiscence. "Whether you hold a knife to sister's throat or break sister's leg, what can I do? I willingly accept it. But you got sick. You felt bad. You were uncomfortable. What do you want me to do? I am going crazy. So please, torture your sister more. Just do not hurt yourself." He recalled in both lives, his sister was like this. Even covered in wounds, she would hold on to him. He hooked his arms tightly around his sister's neck. "But I love you too, sis. You should trust me more. I love you too." Those words were like fireworks suddenly exploding. He could feel his sister freeze. The next second, he regretted it a little. His sister was too crazy. Tears flowed uncontrollably from the physical stimulation. His heart felt squeezed tight. At some point, he finally understood. His sister's pain was connected to his. Her kiss landed over his heart, invading, plundering. Creatures of darkness are like this, unable to crave the light, always drawing light from each other. When he was little, he was afraid of the dark, afraid of falling into an unseen abyss. But if his sister was the abyss itself, he was willing to fall in. "Sis," he unconsciously called her name. His sister lifted the black cloth. He looked into her eyes. They sparkled brightly, like the most constant stars in the universe, burning into his heart, making him want to cry from shame. Her slightly sharp teeth bit into the skin of his neck. "You said sister was your dog. Now do you want to do something to this dog?" He could not hold back anymore, becoming a demon of hell, dragging his own sister into the eternally burning abyss. Faint morning light fell on the bedding. He moved his arm, and his sister held him tighter. Other brothers clung to their sisters like octopuses. With them, it was his sister clinging to him like an octopus. Her elegant nose nuzzled his neck. He reached out and gently touched the red mark on her neck. "Leo, you were so passionate last night. I thought you would not bear to mark me like this." She laughed against his neck with a slightly nasal tone, teasing his heart with each sound. "Sorry, I could not help myself." He apologized without a shred of sincerity. "Want me to make it up to you?" He sat up, pulling her astride him. The morning light happened to fall right on his sister's face. She instinctively squinted. Her hand rested on his waist. Her face was exquisite, like a masterpiece by the most famous ancient Greek sculptor. She leaned down and bit his shoulder. He reached up to brush aside a stray lock of her hair. She ground her teeth slightly. It did not hurt at all, but he still hissed. "Endure it." She gripped his neck. He nodded obediently. She looked down at the teeth marks she had left on him. Before his sister could finish admiring her work, he flipped the blanket, pulling her completely under the covers with him. His vision plunged into dimness, surrounded by her scent. His kiss landed on her spine, like the lingering warmth of dawn's final note. Damn, his sister caught a cold. Serves her right. Neither of them was in great shape now. He could breathe clearly, while she was wrapped in a coat, sniffling. Want to go to the hospital? He felt her forehead. I am fine, she nuzzled his palm. Lyra might be connected to an illegal drug lab, but she is cunning. I was already investigating her before you acted, just missing some key evidence. Sure enough, in both lives his sister had investigated Lyra, but clearly both times she could not find a solid lead. But his sister investigated, focusing on the illegal drugs, while Lyra might also be involved in another more dangerous activity. He tugged his sister's sleeve. I think Lyra and Damien might be conspiring to commit insurance fraud. His sister froze for a second. You mean Damien got close to me first, then Lyra made her move, got close, got to know me, eventually marry me, kill me, collect the insurance? A wild guess, but his sister's eyes darkened slightly, especially when he said kill me. Their IDs might even be fake, sis. Try looking into that angle. His sister stared at him for a long moment, then smiled. What? Want to play detective now? Actually, his sister's job really was a detective, a private investigator, but a completely different kind from the ones in books or what people usually imagine. He did not like her profession at all because his sister was smart but had no formal education. Back then, there was only enough money for one of them to study. He went to high school, so she had to take these shady jobs to support him. For a while, he saw her come home covered in bruises every day. Only later did he find out she had taken a job as a fighter in underground matches. Some private detective, more like someone who would do anything for money. Leo, his sister's slightly nasal voice pulled him back from his thoughts. He looked up suddenly. His sister wrapped her scarf around his neck, kissed him through the thick wool. Thank you for being on my side. He stood stunned, then suddenly felt a sting in his nose. I have always been on your side. I will not leave. Not in this life. Silly sister. After winter, the first signs of spring appeared. He stood by the window, watching the ice melt. The indoor heating steamed up the glass. The kid next to him was doing homework. This was his last job before graduation, tutoring part-time. He looked out through the glass. Faint light hit the thawing snow. Someone was leaning against an old silver sedan, looking at him. His sister wore a camel cashmere sweater. She was so pale, almost blending into the white snow. Standing far away, he could not tell if she was spacing out or watching him, until his phone vibrated in his pocket. It was her. Stop looking at me, Mr. Teacher. Focus on teaching. The kid next to you is practically bursting with curiosity. He fell silent, turned his head, and met the kid's gaze, who just moments ago was diligently studying vocabulary. Now her eyes were sparkling. Mister, what is the deal with that woman? Is she your girlfriend? He ruffled her hair. His thoughts returned to the lesson. The piles of melting snow marking the end of a silent winter. Stepping on the crunching, melting snow when he went outside and saw Alara, she opened her arms to him. Hey, be careful. He pulled her into his arms. She wrapped her arms around his waist. He let her hold him like that, his breath dissipating in puffs in the cold air. She pulled his hood up for him. In the dim, swaying view under the hood, she tilted her head up and kissed him. On the way home, he held her hand. Only because the thin ice on the pavement was slippery, of course. He definitely would not admit he was craving her warmth. Talking as they walked. Remember the town where we used to live after our parents disappeared? My sister brought me here to the city. The police officer who investigated our parents' disappearance back then seemed she got transferred here. The day before yesterday, I ran into her. His chest tightened suddenly. He opened his mouth, did not know how to answer, so he gripped her hand tighter. It is okay. Her slightly comforting tone dissolved into the vast white air. I gave them a lead for arresting Lyra. Probably she came to thank me. His sister, and he reached their front door. A police officer in plain clothes was standing there. Compared to the last time he saw her, her temples had more gray. Her eyes still sharp, honed by time, making her even harder to read. The middle-aged officer's gaze fell on their joined hands, becoming somewhat intrigued. Long time no see. You two siblings still so close, huh? It has been over 7 years, has not it, Leo? Yes, and Alara, so much time has passed. You two have not changed much. The woman smiled at them. The lines around her eyes crinkling, friendly in a way that made it impossible to gauge her true intentions. I remember when I handled your parents' case. Your brother was still in high school. She gestured to her waist level. I was just a rookie cop back then, And yet even now I have not been able to solve this missing persons case. It has been a weight on my conscience all these years as an officer. He did not like dealing with veteran cops. They knew the art of conversation, knew how to peer into people's hearts, and his sister clearly was handling it much better than he was. Detective Wagner, is that commendation plaque there for me? I just gave you a little help. You really did not have to come all the way here. His sister smiled sweetly. The older woman's gaze remained fixed on her. After a moment, she smiled too. Thank you for assisting us in apprehending Lyra and her associated criminal group. The trial starts next week. If you are interested, you can attend. Here is the commendation. She handed the plaque to his sister. His sister reached for it, but halfway she stopped. But speaking of which, your parents' disappearance, after all these years, have you two discovered anything new? He shot up suddenly. A coffee table wobbled slightly from his movement. Detective Wagner watched him with interest. His sister reached out and took his hand. Excuse me, the kettle in the kitchen should be boiling. Let me make you some tea. His steps were hurried. He pulled open the kitchen door, closed it, leaned against the sink, gasping for breath. His heart was racing. The sun was setting. He was enveloped in fading shadows. Bubbles trembled in the sink drain. Wrong. This was not like his past life. Why was that case being brought up again? Was it because he gave his sister the clue and she happened to meet Detective Wagner? Did the timeline change? But his sister and he were just starting to get on the right track, live a normal life. Please, no. He dug his nails into his palm, letting the pain pull him back to reality. From the living room, the conversation between his sister and Detective Wagner drifted in faintly. My brother has always been timid, you know. Our parents disappeared when we were young, scared him. His sister's voice was calm, neither servile nor overbearing. Oh, actually, I always found it a bit strange. Your parents disappeared. Why were not you and your brother more frantic? Do you think your parents are alive somewhere you do not know about? Or are they already dead? Detective Wagner's questions were probing, provocative. After a moment of silence, he heard his sister say, I think they are dead. Then Detective Wagner hummed an if. If my father were alive, that gambling addict would probably smash everything just to take the house I bought for my brother to pay off his debts. If my mother were alive, she would probably rather die than let my brother go to college. She would force him to sell a kidney. So whether they are alive or not, I hope they are dead. For a long time, Detective Wagner did not say another word. Trying to guilt-trip him? Young lady, think whatever you want. My brother has been in the kitchen a while. I will go check on him. A soft sliding sound. His sister opening the kitchen door. After a long moment, his sister hugged him from behind. Only then did he realize he was trembling. He tilted his head back, saw the boundary between light and dark. It turns out they had always been dwelling in darkness. The living room where Detective Wagner sat was brightly lit, but their kitchen could not hold onto the last ray of sunset, swallowed into a damp, oppressive cage. He heard Detective Wagner say loudly, but the law shows no mercy. Whether someone is dead or missing, the culprit, I will definitely catch them. That is my duty as a police officer. He trembled slightly. His sister gave a soft laugh, lifted his chin, and kissed him. Utterly defiant. Was not it? In the living room, Detective Wagner was loudly proclaiming her ideals while in the dim kitchen. His sister's hand slipped under his shirt, caressing his waist, kissing his nose, lips, neck, whispering softly, murmuring, doing the most decadent things. His vision swayed, caught a glimpse of the bright light from the living room. Maybe he was already in the deepest level of hell, so he was not afraid of the dark. He hated the light too. May ushered in the intense cicada calls of summer. He sat outside the police station, people coming and going, until he saw the woman with salt and pepper hair, Detective Wagner. Though past middle age, she was still sharp and energetic, tucking her wallet away and stretching. She saw him. Hey, Leo. You have been visiting this old lady quite a bit lately. He handed her the bubble tea he was holding. She grumbled about not liking young people's drinks, but took a big gulp anyway. What is up? Heard you are graduating soon. Where is your sister? He ignored her question, told her the old house back in their hometown was being demolished. She raised an eyebrow. Oh, that is a self-built house. Good news, they are developing that area. You should get a decent amount for it. He paused for a moment, quietly looked up at her. When I was little, my parents hit me often. The setting sun reflected in his pupils. He watched the detective's expression gradually turn serious. I was young and foolish then, hurting from the beatings. Maybe I really could have done something terrible. The smile completely vanished from Detective Wagner's face. Cops are always so sharp. Maybe her quick mind had already run through 1,000 possibilities of cause and effect. He turned around, walked away from her. When he got home, his sister had already prepared a full table of food. He told his sister class ended at 4. It was already 6. He suddenly remembered that time right after he was reborn, his sister had waited for him just like this. Sitting on the sofa, he walked over to her, took her hand. "Sis," he called her. She seemed sealed in the descending twilight, gripped his wrist, pulled him into a hug. "Where did you go?" "To see Detective Wagner." He promised his sister he would not lie to her anymore. She sighed, ruffling his hair. Fool. It felt like so many words could be hidden in actions, like his sister wrapping her arms around his neck, kissing him, like her fingers threading through his hair, winding it again and again. If everything in the world had a temperature, then he hated this intense summer. "Eat first." Her fingers brushed his bangs aside, breathing against his lips. He tightened his grip around her neck. "Eat what, sister? Dinner?" "Sister." They mixed up their objects. He looked down at her, then pulled her into his arms. Outside, a bicycle bell rang. The pungent smell of someone cooking with citron peppers drifted through the window, but he knew the summer was ending soon. So he could only kiss her, racing against time. He wanted to crush her into his heart, carve her onto his mind, never forget her for a lifetime. He called his sister, asked if she could come to his graduation ceremony. His sister sounded dismissive on the phone. "Do not know. I think I have a case tomorrow, helping a client find their cat." "You are dead if you do not come," he threatened through gritted teeth. She laughed. "How dead? I will never want you again this whole life." She fell silent on the other end, then commented, "Indeed, that is a death sentence from which there is no return." Actually, he still did not know if his sister would come, but he was the valedictorian. He had to give a speech. His sister paid for his education with money earned from those underground fights. Money his sister saved by secretly eating nothing but salted vegetables and steamed buns for a month. Money the superhero called sister scraped together from hardships he could not even imagine. He wanted her to at least know her brother amounted to something. But when he actually got on stage, the audience below was a sea of faces. He had not seen his sister before going up, did not know if she would be hidden among them, but he still mentioned her in his speech. "Thank you to my sister. Without her, I would not be here today." He felt like she did not hear it at all. She probably went to help that client find the cat after all. He could try to understand his sister more. After all, considering everything, he still owed her. He came down from the stage. Someone blocked his path. It looked like some fool bringing flowers for their boyfriend, until he realized this fool had his sister's face. He froze there. That was the first time he had ever received flowers from his sister. Flowers. Her tie was a little crooked. Clearly just finished meeting a client, maybe even turned down a huge case. She leaned down, smiled at him. "Hey, Leo. Bought the roses for nothing. You are much prettier than the roses." In the 15 minutes it took for his sister and him to walk across the bustling campus field, he counted 27 guys sneaking glances at her. 3 guys asked for her number, treating him like air. He started feeling glad his sister had not spent time on a university campus. Otherwise, he might have had some rich heiress rival pop up. Many graduates were taking photos on the field. He tugged his sister's sleeve. "Sis, let us take a picture together." He rarely took photos with Alara because the old him always felt there was nothing worth capturing with his controlling sister. This was the first time he wanted to preserve something with her. She looked down at him. The emotion swirling in his sister's eyes was too intense. He was somewhat glad they were in a crowded place. He asked a young woman nearby to take a few photos for them. When she handed the phone back, the young woman smiled at him. "You and your girlfriend look great together." "Thanks." He did not deny it. "I think my girlfriend and I look great together too." When he called his sister his girlfriend, her eyes looked like she wanted to devour him. "That is the first time you have said it." "What?" The summer wind swept across the noisy field, lifting her tie. His sister was never part of his youth or adolescence, yet she made his heart pound more than anyone he had ever brushed past in the alleyway. 100 meters from the bustling field, the summer wind blew through. His sister pinned him against the wall and kissed him. "That is the first time you called me your girlfriend, baby. I have waited so long to hear that." Kissing him until his legs felt weak. Life seemed to enter a cycle where everything was improving. His sister and he tacitly avoided discussing a certain matter. He woke up in the morning. She held him while brushing her teeth. Their reflections in the mirror. They went to their separate jobs. Sometimes he would bring her a bouquet of dewy white roses. Sometimes she would bring him her latest culinary experiment to try. He told her this was repaying kindness with malice. Later, the summer rainy season brought continuous downpours. Their travel plans were forced to cancel. She did not know who to be angry with, so she took it out on him. He held her and told her to sleep. Later she really fell asleep in his arms. When she woke up, the heavy rain still drummed against the window pane. The sunset glow pierced the raindrops. Street lights lit up sequentially. His sister just kept leaning against him like that, still angry. He brushed her bangs aside. She tilted her head up and kissed his lips. Fool. One evening, he came home early. It was his sister's birthday. He planned a surprise, so he secretly slipped into her study. It was called a study, but really more like a room piled with books and clutter where he used to study for exams. Now his sister used it for work. He planned to hide her gift secretly in a cabinet. Opening a drawer, his eyes accidentally caught a stack of white paper on the corner of the desk. It was just ordinary paper, but clearly someone had written on something placed on top of it before, leaving faint indentations. He stared at the pencil that had rolled nearby. On impulse, he took the pencil and traced over the indentations. It must have been information his sister wrote earlier. Following the gray pencil marks, words slowly emerged. Demolish 9/17. It seemed to be the date their old house back home was scheduled to be torn down. His heart suddenly plunged into an endless icy abyss. No one knew what secrets were hidden in that old house. In his last life, he did not even live long enough to see the old house demolished, but the approaching date pulled his terrified heart down with it. Until a calm, quiet voice pulled him back. Leo, what are you doing? His sister leaned against the door frame, calmly looking at him. Sis. He instinctively crumpled the marked paper. His sister stared at the paper ball in his hand. What is it? Let sister see. He tossed the paper ball lightly into the trash can, walked over, hooked his arm around her neck. His sister leaned down to look at him. His sister's eyes were like the clearest glass in the world. How could he bear to see them shatter? He lowered his head, nuzzling her lips. She let him do as he pleased, even steadying his waist. Happy birthday, he told her softly, handing her the gift he had prepared, a photo album filled with pictures of them. His sister and he solemnly placed it on the shelf next to the refrigerator. Only 2 pictures, she said with a hint of self. It will be filled. He picked up the Polaroid camera. His sister was beside him. Behind them, the faint glow of candles on the cake. One of her arms rested on the dining table. His head tilted towards his sister. He said, Sis, smile. She curved her lips into a smile. That was his sister's 26th birthday. That day he was still by her side. Actually, every day he spent with her before, he was just as greedy for her presence. But 917 hung like a curse, devouring the little summer his sister and he had left. September, the day before the old house demolition. He went to the police station. His sister happened to be out of town on business today. He came secretly. Before coming, he called Detective Wagner. Hey, young lady. You have not contacted me in a while. Her voice was still calm and composed, as if she handled everything with ease. Detective, I want to turn myself in. He felt like he dropped a bombshell. As a police officer, she should have given it her full attention, but instead of cuffing him, she invited him upstairs for tea. Detective Wagner, did you hear what I said? I said I want to turn my... She stopped walking. Young people these days, treating the law so casually. Turning yourself in also requires proof you committed a crime, understand? The setting sun cast long shadows down the staircase. The police officer stood at the top of the stairs, staring at him. For a moment, it felt like a sharp sword piercing through him. He composed himself, told her word by word. My adoptive father and adoptive mother, I killed them both when I was 12. I walled them up inside our old house. The proof is tomorrow, when the house is demolished, you should see their bodies. It was a long silent stare. He hated eyes that could see through everything. So perceptive, so penetrating. He liked his sister's eyes. They were always gentle when she looked at him. Well, is not this interesting? After a moment, the middle-aged detective laughed, but he could not. The sword of justice had finally passed judgment on him, punishing the self who had once abandoned his sister. Are you two siblings taking turns turning yourselves in? But your sister beat you to it by a day. My sister. Young lady, your house is being demolished today, not tomorrow. Your sister lied to you, did not she? She was already in custody yesterday. She is being taken to the... Thank you for the additional content. I have incorporated it into the story and will continue to ensure that the character names remain consistent and the context is smooth in any future content you provide.